Bang, bang. Another major. This is exciting. We are at Torrey Pines South Course. Last time, this is the second time the U.S. Open has been played here. Last time was the famous 2008 Tiger Woods draining a putt, going to sudden death where they put 18 more grueling holes the next day, beat out Rocco Media. Torrey Pines South, par 71, tough course. U.S. Open is always really tough. The scoring is very difficult. There's not going to be a lot of DraftKings points. The winning score can be over par, which is something you do not see on the PGA Tour that often. So this is exciting. Par 71, 7,700 yards, right under, give or take. And I'm excited. We have some course history. We have the hometown heroes like Schauffele, who is popular and it's in the San Diego area. The cut line is top 60 and ties, which is going to be about 35 to 40% of the people. I don't know my exact math off the top of my head, but I would say around 37% of the people to make the cut. So 6 to 6 is going to be, I would say, 5% or less. So you want to get 6 to 6 through. What makes it difficult is, yes, all the up top plays are going to be, you got to pick those right. But we have 137 players in the 7K and 6K range combined. So you are going to win or lose this week based on the picks in the 6K range. So as this goes on, you want to definitely stay tuned for that range because that is going to be where you make your hay. So with that being said, Price, Dustin, we excited. Another major, the U.S. Open. I personally love this because the scoring can be difficult. And for whatever reason, I've always had good results here at this tournament.
It's always nice because it's on Father's Day, so we actually can watch and be left alone for the most part. But I really hope they pair Bryson and Brooks together this week. I mean, that's the pairing that needs to happen for us. It's going to be, just like when Woodland won on Pebble. It's a, nice famous golf course that they play. It's tough. So I think you're right. It'll be a really tough scoring. I watched Xander try to hit out of the rough and just miss the ball completely. Then the second time his wedge got stuck in the grass. So it's going to make for some interesting game theory on who values the shorter hitters who hit it in the fairway on a longer course,
The first swing count?
Yeah.
Not in my book.
Yeah. But he did find a nitro on his next shot. I was like, hey, and he ended up with a birdie.
So who do you think the advantage would go to if they paired Bryson and Brooks? Or would they both?
I think whoever is with them would be the beneficiary of that because I think they'd fuck with each other's heads so much that they're both so vain. Like they try to act like, it doesn't bother me. Like nothing bothers me. But they're both kind of babies. They're prima donnas who complain about each other all the time.
I wonder what if there would be any type of interaction or if they would just.
How great would it be if Bryson birdies the first hole and Brooks doesn't? He just looks over and just.
and you got the Brooks has his back-to-back U.S. Opens, and we have the defending champion Bryson. So there is that factoring as well. So
I would love it if Bryson beat him come Sunday.
PGA Tour is so soft though. First off, they would probably no, you can't do it. U.S. Open. They took down that video.
Who's more
Twitter.
soft, the PGA or NBA?
Ugh.
Oh, NBA by far. I thought LeBron was soft, and he's not even in anymore. The playoffs, but it got even softer.
It's rough. It's rough, but it's going to be a good tournament. Lots of good names. The top 60 in ties is going to make it very difficult. I bet you it's like less than 5% if people get 6 to 6 through. Probably similar to last week where it's like 3%. And if anyone chalky misses the cut, it's going to be brutal.
Does the needing 6 to 6 through make you want to go away from a player like John Rahm, even if you think his win equity is the best in the field? Because you don't want to go dig down in this
field. Because in a major, it's kind of soft pricing, so you get pretty good players like this 7,000 and up.
Like Paul Casey's always in the 7K range.
Every major player. Paul Casey, Abe Answer, they're always like, "Hey, we're gonna be 7,800. Click us."
Paul Casey has good U.S. Open history too when we get there, but
he rates well.
He does. He always rates well, and I always play him in major except for the last one where he did where he probably did the best. I don't want, or yeah, well, because I usually play him when he gets like a 9 on a par 3 at Augusta and somehow misses the cut there. But anyways, let's start up top. Dustin's guy Jordan Spieth 10-9 ahead of DJ. Like, oh my goodness.
Y'all said he was done. You said he couldn't even play golf anymore. Now look at him. Eat that crow.
No.
Hey.
He'll never win another major.
Yeah, I'll take those odds.
All right.
The way
I'm always gonna hate Jordan Spieth. He's
30 years.
Maybe. His caddy might kill him one day.
All right. So with that being said, Price, are you going to stay up top then with Jon Rahm?
I'm gonna play Bryson this week.
Woo!
Bryson and DJ are the two guys I like in this range the most.
Do you have a feel for, since the fairways are going to be fast, that as long as you can get it in the fairway, it will roll out enough to where the distance is negated? Or do you think that's kind of overblown as a myth?
I'm going to think people like look at Bryson and do the same freaking thing they did last year at Winged Foot and say, the rough stick, you have to be accurate. You can't hit it in the rough and win. I think Bryson hit 23 fairways in 4 rounds and won that tournament. If he's hitting a wedge in from the rough while you're hitting a 5-iron in from 200 out, I'm going to take Bryson every single time. Not only that, but I think his weird shit where all clubs are the same length, it kind of helps him out of the rough.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great play. I don't think many people will click him. I think a lot of people skip this range, to be honest, and drop down and build out a 9K range.
Well, when you got 9K with JT at 97 and Rory 99, like, that's incredible.
I think probably the most popular build is going to start with Xander, Hovland, Reed. I think that'll be the most popular starting point this week.
I mean, I think that's a great starting point, to be honest. So I get the logic behind there. Dustin, where are you starting your lineup? Anywhere up in this 10K range?
I mean, I haven't really dove into lineup construction. As far as players I like, I'm kind of on the Brooks train. He's number 1 in my model. Rates far better than anybody else. His worst is his approach, which oftentimes, like Price, that can be negated because he's in the rough, hitting a chip shot in. But I liked Brooks if he'd have performed a little better, but his putter's been like either really awful, and it's been more awful of late. 2 of his last 3, he's lost over two or 3 strokes putting, coming into a not easy putting environment. So I think I'm gonna stay off him. The other guy that I like would be Jon Rahm. It's just he's pricey, man. He's way up there. So kind of see where the construction comes later on down the road, see which players I like and who I can fit in. But those are my top 2.
Yeah. I think I know the 2 guys that I want to play this week is going to be Jon Rahm and then Bryson. They rank 3rd and 1st in my model. What's interesting is Jordan Spieth and DJ, they rank 25th, 26th, and both of them have some big glaring weaknesses in the model, which doesn't mean everything, especially I feel like for a player like DJ who he can just light it up. And if he has a good Thursday, all bets are off what happens. But for example, like Jordan Spieth is 123rd in proximity, 200 plus. And then his, par 4, 500 plus driving distance, obviously is not the best. So there's a lot of glaring weaknesses there. And then, same thing with DJ, par 4, 450 to 500 is another key stat. And his putting is bad, but with the POA and the bouncy putts, you just never know how that's going to turn out. But Jon Rahm and Bryson for me are my two locks that I'm going to be playing in my lineups. Where it gets juicy is this 9K range, because you have the world's best players and Rory and JT who can be they could easily be both in the 11K range. We've seen them both up there plenty of times. What what do we make of this 9K range? I know, Price, you touched on it with Xander and Hovland, and then Patrick Reed. Even he plays always really good at these difficult courses. I believe he has really good U.S. Open history as well. You might need to look into that, but
He has
tough,
really
hard
good
courses.
U.S. Open history, and he has the second best strokes gained in the field at Torrey Pines South.
Yeah.
So he's a grinder. This is the definition of a grinded out tournament, because U.S. Opens are meant to be very difficult, and that's kind of what he does. But I think Schauffele is going to be the most popular play because he's from San Diego. He said this is his home course. I guess kind of checkered history here at the Farmers, missing a bunch of cuts, but I mean he's third in my model. He rates out fantastic. Rory rates out second, and he's been lights out at Torrey Pines. I think he has 2 top 10s, and then his others was like a 13th or 15th. It's just the problem with him has been, even though he won when I put all my eggs in a basket on him, it's because he gained 7 strokes putting. So the ball striking Rory hasn't really been there, and he's switching his swing up from a draw to a cut off the tee. So I don't really know if that's the route to go at a major where you need 6 to 6. And even though it's Rory McIlroy, I mean, he's showed he'll miss cuts in majors. And so I think that's going to be a tough one right there. But Schauffele and then probably Hovland would be the 2 plays for me in this range.
So are you completely off with Colin Morikawa? With he has great iron play. Then the model doesn't look like it, but
so he actually rates out the worst for me of everybody. Yeah, from like 8,600 up.
Isn't that crazy though? Like, I feel like he would rate a little bit better with the long irons on approach shots.
I know.
Because he's number 1 on approach.
The problem is he's not very good at avoiding bogeys or double bogeys.
And also, I mean, 200 plus isn't necessary. I mean, it's an iron for some of those guys, but
if you think about it, this is a tournament where like a 10 to 15 foot par putt, you're gonna have to make some. And do any of us trust Morikawa to make a 15-foot par putt
or a 5-footer?
I mean, like that's what's up. Like him and Reed, like the total, like they're different kind of players. I expect Reed to make like 12 to 15-foot par putts this week. I expect Morikawa to bogey if he has that. It's just a difference in like the, I guess, consistency of how you play. But I think Schauffele is going to rate out as the best play in this range.
All right. Anything else before we move on? I agree with everything. I think Bryce, we've kind of been on the same player so far.
I agree. I agree with Xander. I do like Cantlay here. Obviously had a super terrible stretch. A lot of that stemmed from his putter. He was losing tons of strokes. He turned that around, was phenomenal at the Memorial. And so I kind of feel like maybe riding that hot wave in. He's 9,100, so he's not crazy priced. And I mean, he's been obviously he had that, I think 3 missed cuts in a row, but before that was perennially top 10s, like pretty much any tournament. So he rates out pretty well as well, 13th. So I might take a flyer on him. I think he can come in a little lower ownership, which obviously all these guys are going to be a little lower owned than normal just because of the field. But I don't mind him there at 9,100. This
8K range to start with is phenomenal because there's so many different routes to go, and it's going to be very difficult. Like Tony Finau is he going to be like super popular at 8,900? And then you have Hideki. It's Poa. Price said he's won 3 of his 4 tournaments on Poa. These bumpy greens. He's obviously playing good. Zalatoris, yeah. And then even Scheffler at 8,500. That's a good price for him. No problem playing Scotty here. And then if you go down, who's not going to be probably that popular, Louis O. He doesn't hit the ball a mile, but he is a grinder just like Patrick Reed.
He's got great history here too, doesn't he?
I don't know.
I'll let y'all go first on this range.
Well, I mean, for me, the guy. So Zalatoris pops for me a little bit. He's great par fours, 500 in. Great on the 200 plus. So you obviously tell he's good from long distance, and then he's good off the tee, and his approach game is pretty good. So obviously his glaring thing has been his putting. Is decent on POA, ranks 49th in my model over the last 24 rounds on POA. So I like Zalatoris at 8,600. I just feel like you can get a lot of value there. I mean, the guy's shown that he can play well, and he plays well in majors in his brief career so far. Hatton pops a little bit for me as well too, and then I like Finau. So those would be my three.
Yeah, it was a year ago, the last U.S. Open, where we ended up saying use him for the main lineup for all our subs, and he got a sixth place.
That's right.
Just kind of popped off. So Zal's by far the best rated player in this range for me. The only thing he sucks at is putting, and I feel like the putt is going to kind of even the playing field on putting. So if anything, it should help him with his weird little two-finger stroke. The real question is, what do you do with Justin Rose, who's been fantastic at majors? Pretty good form coming in. Rates out pretty decent.
Yep.
And he has phenomenal history at Torrey Pines.
And he's only 8,000.
I know. That's like the toughest like fade Justin Rose, because he's like mediocre everywhere, but then when he gets his putter going, he just lights out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Masters and the PGA, and then he missed the cut at the Valspar. You're like, what?
But I do think Chris is calling Louis. Louis is just, he's like the perfect kind of grinder for any major. He typically does well in them. I think he has a runner-up in every single major.
Yeah, for this hard course and wanting to get 6 through and 8,100, I think Louis is a perfect play.
He's played so well. He kind of goes under the radar. The dude, I mean, let me go look here. He's missed one cut since in a year, a calendar year. He's missed one cut. Lots of 13th, 3rds, 19th, 23rds, 11, 6, 8, 2.
I mean, he got third at the U.S. Open last year. He got second at the PGA. He got 18th, at the Memorial a couple weeks ago.
He's a very solid player overall.
I love Louis down there, and I think it allows you to hit up another player like Zalatoris.
I saw the pricing, and I immediately figured Chris would have Louis and Paul Casey in his lineup.
I mean, that's a good starting lineup right there.
It's not bad.
What do y'all think about Answer this week?
I'm good. I got Casey and Louis in that range.
I don't mind him at all. It's just kind of like, yeah, like you said, Louis kind of depends on your build, because that's the big thing. But yeah, he's fine for me.
I mean, I think you got to start your lineup for me, Louis, Paul Casey, and Kokrak at 7,600. And just see where I can fit in a couple big dogs up top.
Yeah, we haven't even got down to the 7K range, man.
We're at Paul Casey range, an Answer.
Price didn't even get his 2 cents.
No, did you not talk? He talked about, who do you like, Price? Get up there.
Max Homa is probably my favorite in the 7K range. Him, Hoff Daddy. Ryan Palmer's also really intriguing to me. He rates out pretty damn well.
What about Woodland?
No. Fuck
you hate Woodland. He always screws you too.
Yeah, every time I use him, he misses the goddamn cut.
And every time you don't use him,
he does great.
So you just gotta tell us if you're using him.
I'm gonna put him in. I'm gonna make one lineup and put him in it so that he bombs for everybody. No, I don't like him. Leishman's gonna be very, very popular because he's done extremely well at Torrey Pines. If I remember correctly, he's gained the 4th most strokes on Torrey Pines South in this field. Bubba's first. I don't want to touch Bubba. He's missed 2 cuts in a row and not really playing well. Leishman is 4th. Mickelson is 5th. Adam Scott's 7th. And then Sergio's 11th in strokes gained just on this course they're playing. So you have all these guys who do well, but like Scott has not really been that good. He's super up and down. No way in hell I'm taking Sergio Garcia.
See,
there's so many good people in this range.
Yeah, you didn't even talk about Neiman, who's 7,500.
I think he's made like 15 to 16 cuts.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously missed a cut last at the Memorial, but before that, he's been dynamite, right? So it's kind of like, do you take that missed cut and probably get him at lower ownership, or is he turning because he had 50th, finished 50th the week before? So,
and your boy Stewie Sink
rates well, man. Been playing well.
I know. Ever since he put his kid on the bag.
Yep, sitting down there, Hoff Daddy.
Then Chris's boy Matt Wolf is back.
No, I'm off Matt Wolf. I don't care how good he drives the ball or how
and
far.
Of course, Dustin's fade, old Harris English.
Oh, Harry.
Dude, we have in like a year we have never gotten that full right.
Nope.
Every time we play him, he sucks.
Yep.
Anytime we say let's fade him, he top 10s. What about your boy Sam Burns, Chris? He rates out pretty damn well.
I love Sam Burns. I don't know yet. I gotta think about it a little bit more. His Bermuda is his putting surface where he puts the best, but I need to figure out what I want to do with Sammy Burns. I obviously like him. He's a young stud, young gun. I have no reason not to play him, but it's kind of right now. I don't really know what I want to do with him because there's other players like your boy Hoff Daddy as well. There's just a lot of really good plays that's why like I kind of want to have. I don't want to pick players at the top so I can just stay away from this range that's gonna be so difficult to pick. Like 70. I would say like anything under Jason Kokrak down is going to be, it's just so hard to pick between.
Yep.
I mean, Matt Wallace, you can make a case for Matt Wallace.
Strillman.
No, I think Strillman's a sneaky play here because I believe has pretty solid history at Torrey Pines. And he's been playing pretty well.
Yeah. He's got like 3 top 30s in a row, I think. So
and then in the 6K, you got Johnny Vegas. Did you talk about driving distance? He's 5th in our model, rates out top 40 in our ranking.
If you want to talk about driving distance, you got Wilco Nienaber.
That's true.
Boy hitting that shit 360 off the tee on average.
I'll never like to talk about Cam Champion. Even if you talk about driving distance.
She sucks.
Because we know you're going to talk about it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay. In a year, have either one of us who brought up Cam Champ once? Because we know we don't have to. You bring him up every 30
We talk
minutes.
about driving distance and you don't even mention him.
No, because he's not good at golf.
All right. Let's move on. Let's he's got enough hate in his life. He can't even make a cut. So let's move on.
This is the hardest range because you expect most of these people to miss the cut. There's going to be some random scrub who freaking comes out and does well. But I mean, it's with the top 60 make the cut. You don't expect a handful of guys down here to make it, you know?
Yep.
Like scrolling through, and a lot of the guys qualified in, like playing in because through sectionals, which you can do for the U.S. Open, which you can't do for most. But I remember Chan Kim from the PGA champ who finished I think like 25th or 26th. It's only 6,100.
Yanni Vegas, dude.
Chris already talked about Yanni.
Oh, I didn't hear him.
Yeah, because then he transitioned into why don't we ever talk about Cam Champ?
I heard the Cam Champ.
Bro, it's Lanto Griffin rates out pretty well.
I know he's in the 7K, but Russell Henley. as well.
I'm out on Henley. He has not played well.
Be like Chicken Ches. Had like 7 missed cuts and then finished 14th left.
But Lanto is kind of intriguing.
Yep. And he's had good history at the Farmers. He usually grinds out cuts at majors. Then you got all these randos like Grayson Sig and Pendrith and Dylan Wu, all the Digala, the Corn Ferry guys from the last year and a half who got into this and hopefully garner a bunch of ownership and then shoot 25 over.
Yeah.
Bryce, will you touch on as we close up? If y'all are still watching, there's a lot of contests, like the $5 contest you could play. You've got to play that different and kind of go down in the lower range, don't you? And try to be like, I got to have a Hail Mary and pick a couple lower owned guys, or do you think you can just try to grind out 6 of 6? And
I think you just try to grind out, and this week especially, you just try and grind out 6 of 6. I think it happens to everybody when you first start playing. You get geared and like, I need a low owned guy who goes off to win, but you don't. You just need 6 guys who get you points all 4 days. And like, what's the point of taking one of those guys if he gets you 10 points because he shoots 30 over because it's a difficult course and he sucks? So like, yes, there's some merit to going stars and scrubs, but in a major, most of the time, a more balanced build is what wins. Now, I'm not typically a person who goes into I don't go play the $20 million maker and like, hey, I'm going to win $1 million, because you have to beat like 270,000 people. I play not higher dollar, like $33 and up, single entry, where you don't have to be crazy like that to win decent money. Like the back-to-back weeks where I won 15 grand, like it wasn't that great of builds, but I got 6 of 6, and all my guys did, I think for the most part, 4 or 5 of them finished top 20, and I had a guy who was like 50th both times. But it's just about getting people who get your points all 4 days, and not letting, like if Paul Casey's going to be 20% owned, you're like, I'm going to flip to Matt Fitzpatrick, who rates out way worse, but because he's going to be half his owned, like that's not worth it. Or if you go from someone like Kokrak to Harmon, like Harmon typically does well, but who honestly has the better odds of making the cut and doing well? Kokrak does. So it's getting out of the psyche of, I have to be so different than everybody else. It's not about being completely different. It's about, a lot of these guys are chalk for good reason. It's picking the correct pivots on other spots. Like if you don't want to play the top end guys, go balance, but instead of doing, the Hovland, Schauffele, Reed, use Cantlay instead of Schauffele or Hovland. Use Hideki instead of Finau or Reed, like just little spots there where they all should make the cut. And, it's golf. Who the fuck knows who's going to win, but those guys all have a good chance to run up the leaderboard on Sunday.
Love it. Love it. All right. Let's end on that. Good job, Price. Dustin, follow us at dfsdads.com. First look is out and deep dive is coming shortly. Thank you for watching. Let's make some money this week. Bring home the U.S. Open trophy.